So proximity builds intimacy, and sharing a meal in the Hebrew culture was a significant thing. It was a symbol of friendship and people having a relationship of some sort. And so that's why, for instance, if you look at scriptures like Matthew 9:11, where the Pharisees were speaking to the disciples and telling them, your master eats with publicans and sinners, tax collectors, and all that. They were offended because the fact that he shared a meal with the sinners showed intimacy and it showed friendship with them. And for them, that was like a no-no. We don't fraternize with the sinners because that means we are in relationship, and they didn't want that. And so sharing a meal is very important. It was very important in the culture. It still is. And then, for instance, if you go back to that was New Testament, but in the Old Testament, you remember when Joseph, in Genesis 43, when Joseph had his brothers dine with him, they sat separately. Joseph had his own space where he ate, and then the brothers were served separately. They were all eating in one place, but they were eating separately, and they were not sharing the meal as such, because that would signify fellowship and friendship. And so at that time, maybe Joseph was still wrestling within himself about that. I'm not going to say I know that's what was happening with regards to that, but my point is there was a lack of supping together, eating together. And so, yeah, that's a couple of verses pointing out why it is important, why it's sharing a meal is significant. Okay. And when Jesus says he stands at the door and knocks, this is not literal. This is figuratively speaking. So that sharing of a meal is just a sign of intimacy and fellowship and friendship. And we get that from spending time with him.